Let's talk about the devil today. In the home where I'm staying, there is this marvelous sculpture on the wall of the devil. And my friend who bought it years ago, he found it amusing because he doesn't particularly believe in the devil. But really, let's talk about the devil. The devil is fear, and fear when people are enmeshed in their most fearful selves are capable of the most evil and demonic things. So we need to address it. The devil in Christian mythology is the personification of evil. But what many Christians fail to recognize is that as soon as they are pointing the finger and pretending they know what God's will is and start to destroy someone else in their midst, because they do not approve of their beliefs, their actions, their presence, their color, their religion, their political parties. Guess what? Those Christians become the devil, an active force for the demonic. So I know that demonism is not specifically centered in Christianity, but certainly a large portion of it is. In our country, the United States of America, where many people think it's a Christian country, but it's not, it is a multicultural country. However, the predominant theology of this country is capitalism. Capitalism is the end all be all, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you adhere to our society's standards or not. That is the philosophy that we live by in this country. So when it comes to the devil and religion, we have to realize that that it is fear. It is our deep-seated fears, our lack of being able to love ourselves and others, our situations. That fear is what ruins everything. And it's true that certain fears are helpful to have, like being afraid at the edge of a cliff, especially if someone is chasing you, someone or something. Being fearful of walking down a dark street in a neighborhood that is known for shootings, murders, rapes. Being fearful of men that hate women. Being fearful of men that hate men, or anybody that hates anything. I think that's where we really have to look. What is it inside ourselves that we are hateful of, that we are fearful of? Because we have this innate desire to kill that which we are afraid of. Spiders, biting ants. What? People that threaten your security by demanding higher wages when you employ them. We've got so many fears in ourselves that when we are not aware of them, influence some really bad behavior. So, what is at the root of these fears? It's not the devil, it's not religion. It's about two things: our own feelings of unworthiness or not being lovable or loved enough, and our fear of death. We're all going to die, no matter what. We're all going to die. We have limited time on this planet as these embodied souls, and we're all going to die. And somewhere in there is also the ego death. We become so attached to our image of who we are that many will fight tooth and nail to preserve that, no matter what it does to anyone else. So when you look at the world stage and all of the war and the colonialism, the taking over of other cultures and other places, the most damage is being done by the most cowardly and pretending that they're the brave. And that's where we really have to look at fears and actions, because the most brave in our world are really, in general, the most gentle, the most loving, the most compassionate, the most tolerant, the most forgiving. So it is those that refuse to acknowledge the sovereignty of others, of other life forms, that are the ones who are most fearful because they're afraid to share. They don't want to share because they're afraid there's not enough for them, and even when there's too much, it's not enough. Think about back during the beginning of the coronavirus, how many people hoarded toilet paper, hoarded all kinds of supplies. How many people are hoarding supplies right now in expectation of something they're afraid of? Hoarding guns, hoarding canned food, hoarding all kinds of weapons and attitudes, hoarding money. We have an explosion of money hoarders in our country. Think about the fear that it takes to be a money hoarder, because greed is just another form of fear. So I do not believe there is a horned, embodied devil. And I do believe there is evil in the world. And the evil comes from our fears. And maybe we weren't loved by our mothers. Maybe we weren't loved by our fathers. But that doesn't mean that we are not inherently worthy of love. And maybe we didn't have enough to eat. And maybe there wasn't enough money when we were growing up. But that doesn't mean that the past equals the future. It does not. The more that we break these mind-forged manacles, I quote William Blake again, to embrace the idea that love is more powerful, more important, more present and prevalent in the world. So when we have politicians banning the fears of those that already had them to profit, to gain power and position, so that the imagined status or the desired status can be achieved. If you think about all the wars that we've had in our world, some have been over natural resources. Natural resources that were more desired than needed, whether it be land or gold or water. So in the case of Russia, Putin wanted more land to be part of Russia. He thought that would be his legacy. to increase the motherland. Well, it's a pretty demonic thing that he's done, trying to wipe out a culture, a sovereign nation, so that he can claim it for his own nation. The same thing going on in Palestine. And yeah, somebody else, Hamas, started that war. But who are we? Are we children here? He started it, so I'm going to end it. I'm going to kill them all. Really? As if they all deserve to die because a few started it? So, how childish are we in our fears, in our retaliations, in our actions? When are we going to embrace God? And when I use the word God, I mean love. When are we going to let God, love, the divine, guide our lives? And it never is guided when it's through the divine, through greed, through fear, through being better than somebody else. No. It's never guided. We are never guided to harm others, to better ourselves. So if you call yourself a Christian in this world or something else, make sure that you're following an honest path. The honest path is one of following your heart, because your fears are based on illusions, delusions, projections, and will bring out the absolute worst in you and in others. And when we have the wherewithal to protect our own, sometimes that protection just means walking away. Sometimes that protection means not embodying the status quo of our nation. Sometimes it means rooting ourselves in integrity and being willing to stand alone from the culture. And others will demonize you for this because they fear you, because you're brave. The fearful always fear the brave, to the point where, yeah, they want to destroy you. They want to vilify your words and turn them into something demonic. Demonic. Because they're not looking at how possessed they are by their fears, by their own demons, by their own inadequacies, by their doubts that there really is a God or a universe that is gentle and kind. Because the stories that were written by men, the God that was invented in the image of man, is as immature and bullying and childish as can be. So, how do we become adults in a world where we were taught that we were not safe? There has to be a turning inward. There has to be a connection to our self that is eternal. The self that connects to our deepest core, our values, our history, our place in this world. We have to connect on a very deep level. And in order to do that, we have to turn off the noise and be willing to sit in silence with ourselves, with nature, with our fears, with our inadequacies, and become accepting of all that. And still know we are valuable, we are lovable, we are somehow held gently by the universe, by the divine, by the angels. We do have to trust in something greater than ourselves. And that greatness does lie within as well, because we are part of the whole, and the whole is part of us. And it is only when we want to separate ourselves out, and by color, by race, by creed, that we're really, really living the bottom of the barrel kind of an existence. Think about Ireland. Everybody was Christian. Oh, but you're Catholic. Oh, but you're Protestant. Oh, we hate you. Oh, that's real Christian. No. I had a student once who said it was near Halloween and she didn't do Halloween costumes because her mother taught her that it was of the devil. She goes, I hate the devil. I said, really? I said, then the devil's won because you've learned to hate. So you're better off loving the devil being in the Bible a fallen angel. So how many times do we fall from our own angelic nature? So do we hate ourselves? Or do we project that hate onto others because we're so afraid of owning our own self-rejection? And how do we not reject ourselves for our imperfections? And who taught us anyway that we had to be perfect? No, it wasn't Jesus. Mm-mm. It was more likely our families, our schools, our teachers that taught us we had to behave in a certain way against our nature. So we learned that our very nature was wrong, that our very nature was not accepted. So, how do we raise our children to be accepting of themselves? How do we raise our children to feel safe? Well, one thing is, don't raise them the way that the Western world raised them. I don't believe that Dr. Spock, when he wrote that book about child rearing, knew what the hell he was talking about. Because children for generations have been isolated and left to cry rather than being nurtured when they're babies and vulnerable. They've been isolated in their nurseries, in their rooms away from their protectors. Babies know they're vulnerable. They know they need others. They are master manipulators because they know they need people. And they can't feed themselves. They can't defend themselves. They are vulnerable. So, what do we do in Western culture? We make them feel even more vulnerable and rejected and judged for crying, for needing. And then what happens? They grow up to still be needing, to still be fearing, to still not be able to take care of themselves. Because it's only when we dig deep inside and recognize a core of strength, and inner belongingness to this world and to ourselves, that's when we can be the adult in the room, be willing to turn away from the crowd, to decide for ourselves what our values are rather than just taking on our family values. It's when we decide to be brave, decide to be who we were born to be, and to take on the mission that we were born to take on. It's in these things that make us a real adult, not by following the crowd, not by taking on prejudices and projecting our fears and demons that we have within onto others. No. It's when we can look at the devil and see a mask that is worth laughing at, that is amusing, that we can face our fears and do the same. That our fears are there to make us stronger, not to control us, but for us to resist, to just live life despite them, to live the way we want to live our lives despite our fears. And when I say the way we want, I mean in your heart of hearts, not in your ego, because your ego will always steer you wrong. And your ego, that image we like to have about ourselves, that image that we want to project to others that we're strong and powerful, even though we feel weak and vulnerable inside. You're better off saying, you know what, I feel weak and vulnerable when you do. That's strength. Strength is in speaking the truth. Strength is in living your truth. Strength is in being able to ask for help. Strength is in being willing to offer help because you know you've got some value in this world and the world needs it. The world needs us all to be who we were meant to be in our heart of hearts. So don't wait. Don't let our fears stop us from living the lives we were born to live. Don't let our images of power and control make us devils. Because the world doesn't need more devils. The world needs more love. So may you be loving towards yourself. May you be loving towards others. May you look at fear and realize it is not here for you to obey. It is here for you to conquer. Fears are not a life plan. Your life plan is what you choose from your heart and stay the course. The fears are just here to make you stronger. Allow yourself to become strong. So folks, have a beautiful day. And may you walk in beauty and fearlessness, with beauty before you, with beauty behind you, with beauty above, with beauty below, with beauty within, with beauty all around you. May you walk and realize there is no devil waiting to take you off course. There's only the fear that is there at your back, maybe, to make you stronger. Allow yourself to become stronger. Go in peace. Much love to you all. Thanks for listening. See you next time. I am Reverend Montclair, and this is Monday Church with Reverend Montclair.